So it is Tuesday night, and I'm going to have spaghetti squash with a meat sauce that's a red meat sauce. To me, with that, anytime I have any type of red sauce over a pasta-esque type of thing, spaghetti squash barely being pasta, but kind of emulates that kind of a pseudo bolognese that I'm going here. I always will shoot for a Sangiovese. This made me think about a few things. One is, I did a quick video yesterday about one of my favorite grapes, Nebbiolo, and it might be my number one. And then it made me start thinking about red grapes, but I've already spoke about white grapes numerous times, and I have like 4 favorites. And I think it's easy for me to say I have 4 favorites, but really, unfortunately, with red, it's not going to be that simple because there's so many blends. Like Rioja might be Tempranillo heavy, but could have other grapes. Bordeaux could be Cab heavy or Merlot heavy, but there's other grapes. And then I would just use all my grape choices if I did like a top 5 or something. So I might have to do it with grape plus region for red when I think about it a little more. I thought I could do it off the cuff. I need to think about it and then give an example of a wine that makes me think it's one of my favorites. I think Sangiovese is going to be in there. So, and this breaks the rule right off the bat. I said with Nebbiolo, the best expressions are Barolo, Barbaresco, and some other areas of Italy. I've had Nebbiolo from some other places, a few. They were good, nowhere near as good as the Italian regions that highlight the Nebbiolo grape. Sangiovese, I have had in other regions, parts of the world, and it was exceptional. New Jersey, this winery, unfortunately, they're not going to be making. The owners of 25 years have sold the winery to some new owners, and I don't know what's going to happen to their Sangio, but it's definitely the best red wine in New Jersey, I think. Maybe BDX out of Heritage would be close, but I think I like this better. BDX being a Bordeaux blend out of the Heritage Winery out of New Jersey, southern New Jersey, and this is in Cape May, New Jersey. And that's kind of crazy to say that there's such a great Sangiovese in New Jersey, and I have some bias towards New Jersey. Anyone that knows me knows that I have no love lost for New Jersey. But this winery down in Cape May is doing things, has been doing things, well, were doing things really well. Unfortunately, they have sold it. Hopefully for a few years it retains something as they keep their winemaker on, and some of the aging wines were the original families, and then the new folks that take it on either continue it or they start making wine slushies, and then it'll be a disaster. But Chianti Classico, Chianti, you have Brunello, Merlino Scansano, there's Vino Nobile, there is Sangiovese all over Italy. So I'd be harder pressed to give a region, but I can. In Italy, I'll say the best expression of Sangiovese is Brunello di Montalcino. But there are other great expressions of Sangiovese. So it's going to be a weird red wine grape list when I do it. Just sort of prefacing that it's going to probably be a shit show of sorts, that I will be all over the place. Like Cabernet will be on the list, but what does that mean? They make Cabernet everywhere. They make it in Coonawarra, Australia, Margaret River, Australia. They make it southern France, Bordeaux, left bank, right bank, California, Napa, crap, almost every state, actually every state in the United States now technically makes wine. Everyone is trying to make a Cabernet. Can you make a Cabernet in Napa like you can in some other places? No. The richness and ripeness and juiciness of Napa Cabernet is hard to replicate, but it's not everybody's style. It is sort of unctuous and large. There are all these producers now trying to make it a little less intense and picking it earlier, making it more acidic. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be extremely difficult to come up with a handful of grapes. I'm looking at an amazing Italian one right now. It's Montepulciano's the grape. I don't think I could put that in the top 5, but I think I could put Aglianico. I could put Aglianico in there, but I don't know that I would. Nebbiolo, Sangio, Cabernet, unfortunately, has to be in there, but that's because of, or do I just say Left Bank Bordeaux? And that becomes a regional, oh, that is one of my favorite red wine regions, which it is. And maybe that's what I need to stick to with red. Obviously all over the place with this, but this is the 2020. They had a great vintage in New Jersey. Finger Lakes, very ripe vintage. Came in New Jersey. I forget what they call the region down there. And this aroma, this wine, it's almost $50. So you're talking about a New Jersey wine for this amount of money. It better be good. It just says Cape County. I'm not sure if that's what they call the wine region or the AVA down there. But it has a certain level of rusticity. The family was Italian, obviously. Well, not obviously, but they were Italian, the original owners. So they tried to make things as traditional as possible. At least that's how I felt by drinking all their wines. They had a Nebbiolo, and it was fine, and it was good. It's just not as good as Barolo Barbaresco. That's all. And it's not a knock. It's just difficult to make maybe that versus how they're making it in Piedmont, Italy. So I just popped and poured this. This needs a little decant for sure, but it's got a rusticity to it. I smell earthiness. I smell cedar. I smell black cherry. A lot of things that are very reminiscent to me of Sangiovese. And it's opening up already. I could smell the black cherry. More of the cherry aromas are coming out. What makes this so special with red sauce? It's the acidity. There's a level of medium plus tannin and the flavors. There's sometimes a tomato leaf. There can be a tomatoey taste. I have had wines, red wines, that have a rotten tomato aroma and taste, and they're disgusting, undrinkable. But a tomato leaf, I love the smell of a tomato leaf. If I smell tomato leaf in a wine, I think, uh-oh, this is going to be great. Truffle, when you get truffle out of a wine, white or black truffle, and I just watched the whole thing about those. I think it's the white truffle that really has the aromas. Black doesn't as much, but the white is that pungent truffle aroma that we're used to, I think. I could be reversing them, but I'm pretty sure it was white, and they're extremely expensive, those mushrooms. When you get that, I feel like that never pops out of the glass. It's a decant thing. You decant a Nebbiolo or Sangiovese, and you could get truffle, which then is like another level. Sometimes I get lavender out of some wines, not typically Italian. These have a rusticity to them that pair beautifully with food. I've always said Brunello, Sangiovese based. Brunello di Molteno has to be 100% Sangiovese, and I think Brunellos are probably bar none the best food wine, not best wine. To me, I prefer Barolo Barbaresco or some other Nebbiolo areas like Valtellina. The Valtellina Sforzat is one of my favorite wines I've ever had. It's $100, but it's one of my favorite wines I've ever had. And that, to me, I prefer those over Brunello. But if I'm having food and a nice dinner, I think a Brunello can pair better. I could have a Nebbiolo on its own, plate of cheese, with dinner, with a steak, with so many other things. I don't think I'd have a Brunello. Could have Brunello with a steak, maybe, but I wouldn't. Not my thing. I'll go Bordeaux. I'll go California. I could even go Nebbiolo. Although I tended to drink Nebbiolos Italian food and on their own. So whatever that is. Whatever that is. I'm just trying to let this wine open before I even taste it, because it just does it an injustice. I still have a 2018 of this somewhere in here, and it was an amazing vintage. Their 19s weren't as good as their 18s, but still really good, and their 20s were fantastic, but I felt like they were still pretty young. They are still pretty young. And I do hope, going back to Cape May this summer, I see the winemaker there, I hope, or that the wines that they're selling were still made by the family and not unadulterated or anything. Just do a tasting, see what they have. Probably just go and buy a bunch of their Sangiovese. They had a Pinot Noir. It was solid. I liked the Pinot Noirs from Finger Lakes better. Obviously, Burgundy, California does it better. Theirs was fine. Nothing wrong with it. But I'd rather take that money and buy another Sangio. The Nebbiolo, probably the same thing. Save that money, buy another Sangio from them. Buy as many Sangios as I can because it's going to be gone. And then this wonderful wine out of New Jersey will just be, unfortunately, gone. Yeah, great acidity, great tannin. Everything I just said, my mouth's watering. This wine's awesome. I mean, you cannot believe, I cannot believe for a second. When I first tried this, I said, how is this a New Jersey wine? It's just on another level. It really, really is. If you, can't say be like Chianti Classico, because those are less costly than this. But as an alternative, this wine is awesome. It really is. And it's going to pair great with dinner tonight. So support local, I guess, to some degree. You kind of justify it that way. So yeah, I'm going to do, or attempt to do, this. What are my favorite red grapes? For white, I've Chardonnay, Riesling, Chenin Blanc. I've said Adsitico. So Adsitico, for me, mostly the best I've had are from certain wineries doing it better and spending more time on the lees, maybe even oak aging a little bit, or amphora aging. They're Adsitico on the island of Santorini. Chardonnays, I like some in the Finger Lakes. I like some in Burgundy. I like some in California. So I'm not as picky. I like some in South Africa. I like some Margaret River, Australia. So there's a number of places I've had Chardonnay from that I've really enjoyed. And Chardonnay is, they call it like the blank canvas. You can do almost what you want with it. You could, Chablis as well. Well, that's Burgundy, but different stylistically than, say, Poligny Montrachet versus Chablis. Just different stylistic Meursault. But I want to age my Chardonnay. I don't really want to drink a young Chardonnay. I will, but I really, really, really enjoy old Chardonnay. Love it. Love it. So I had a 2009, or I think it was in 2009, Chardonnay out of California. I think Sonoma, maybe Carneros. It tastes like butterscotch. It was insane. Insane. I have one more left, and it's like, when's the right time to open it? The 2001 Chardonnay I had at a Sheldrake, Finger Lakes, phenomenal. I have one left. It's like, when do I open that? Just Rieslings, I've just, between Finger Lakes and Alsace in Germany, Riesling young and old, I prefer it old, but young too, gosh, I just really love Riesling. I can't even get enough of it. I love, sometimes it's lower alcohol. And then Chenin Blanc, I'd say Loire Valley, Savennières specifically, but Saumur, so many other regions in the Loire, Chenin Blanc. The Chenin Blancs from there have been, to me, the best. Vouvray, and I'm talking mostly dry here. Dry Chenins. I know they can make off-dry and sweeter versions, and I'm sure those are fine, but what I'm talking about is the Chenins that are dry. And again, I want age on it, but I can drink it younger. But I think even with 5-6 years, Chenin's awesome. I really thought I'd like Viognier, and I'm okay with it. Had some good ones out of Condrieu, Northern Rhone, but barring those, the rest have been okay. Nothing special, but that's why those 4 white grapes. But I just rattle those off. I just gave you my 4 favorite white grapes, white wines in the world. I'm not going to be able to do that as easily with red. I need to sit down and think about it. I'm not going to write anything down. I'm just going to think about it prior to maybe recording it and putting it, quote unquote, on the record. So, is this enough time for my dinner to be almost ready? 14 minutes in. So this wine will only get better. I'm going to drink it probably over 2 nights, if not 3. I'll absolutely miss these guys when they're officially disconnected, meaning none of their influence on the wines that are in the cellar at Turdo. I've always recommended that place. You know, anytime I walk into a winery and I see a wine slushy machine, and you just gotta run. If you're talking about serious wine, everyone should drink wine the way they want. You want to stick an ice cube in it, stick an ice cube in it. Maybe not in a $500 bottle of wine though. Maybe you get a cheaper bottle and put that ice cube in it. But enjoy your beverage the way you want to enjoy your beverage. But when an establishment is willing to sell wine slushies or things of that nature, it kind of diminishes what I believe is their standard on wine, their beliefs on wine, and what they're really trying to portray. Now, if they're just trying to be a money-making machine, there's just plenty of wines out there. Tons of sub-$20 wines that are just mass-producing wine that tastes the same every year, which is technically impossible. Every vintage variation. This wine, 2018, 2019, 2020, tastes different. Could I tell in a vertical of these 3 years? Maybe. I'd probably tell you that 18 and 20 tastes better than 19. That's probably all I could tell you. I think. I've never done that with these wines. I haven't really done a vertical being same wine of varying vintages. Can I tell the difference between those wines? Can I tell you which vintage is what? I'm telling you in my mind 18 and 20 were better than 19. Could I actually do that? I have no idea. No idea. I have put wines together, maybe not blind, but I feel like I'm fair enough that if I drink a $10 bottle of wine, I'll tell you it's good. I did those Costco wines. Some of those $10 wines were good. The Chateauneuf for 20 was pretty good. I would drink that. The Rioja and the Chianti Classico Reserva for like $9 or $10 were actually drinkable. I'll spend a few more bucks to get something a little bit better, but drinkable wine. The Malbec, remember, was terrible. Gosh, I am all over the place today. This today, I thought this was a little more unctuous when last time I had it. It is a little more rustic today. Maybe because it was just pop and pour. I'm definitely going to decant a little bit here as I prep dinner and see if it evolves over the night here. We'll see. We'll see. All right, time to make dinner. Decant some of this Sangio. I definitely think Sangio will be in my top 5. So Sangio Nebbiolo Cab. I'm cheating, giving a little bit away, but I'm pretty sure those grapes will be in there. But they will have context of place. Wine does have a sense of place, and I did that just for the whites just now. I did it very quickly because I could, and I guess those are the areas I've experienced. I have not had a Tasmanian wine yet. I know Tasmania makes wine. Very difficult to get in the United States. So are the wines in Tasmania? I'm sure they are. Even South African wines are much, much harder to get now than I think years ago. And they supposedly have great Chenin Blancs. And I've had Chenin Blanc out of South Africa, and it is good. Is it nearly as good as the Loire ones I've had? No. Have I had any Chenins out of California? I don't recall. There's Marsanne Roussanne out of the Northern Rhone. I hear they're amazing. I've had Marsanne and Roussanne. I've had lower end White Rhone, Northern White Rhone wines. They've been okay. I do have a pretty expensive, slightly aged Marsanne Roussanne blend of white from Northern Rhone. I think it's a White Hermitage. I don't remember. And that'll be interesting. I think that could change my mind on whites, but then that's a very specific region and grape and everything that may or may not go along with it. Some of the most expensive whites are obviously in Burgundy, Chardonnay, but some of the other most expensive is Northern Rhone when you are talking about White Hermitage and some of these white wines that are $600 to $1,000. And I don't want a current vintage of that. If I'm going to drink something that crazy, it better be something with some age. So, and just looking at some of the bottles I have displayed, I see my favorite Pinot Noir. Am I going to put Pinot Noir on the list? Probably not. But it doesn't mean I don't love Pinot. So it's going to be a very difficult. Very difficult. I've always said, if I had to pick one country, Italy. If I have to drink wine out of one country the rest of my life, it's going to be Italy. I think God, it would screw me in the white wines, though. It would screw me. All those Rieslings I love, that Loire, Chenin, and the Chardonnay. But the reds, and there are great whites in Italy. I have less experience with them. Still going to go with it. I can't give up Barolo Barbaresco. I can't give up the great Nebbiolos just for white. Although I drink more white probably now than red. My whites last a lot less than red in my various half wine fridges. I have a bunch, several. I'm looking right now as a Southern Rhone, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Am I going to say all three of those grapes? I can't. It's a blend. It's a Southern Rhone blend out of Gigondas. Chateauneuf allows up to 13 grapes. I can't really say, well, that would take over everything if I love Chateauneuf. I don't love Chateauneuf. I prefer Gigondas, Vaccaras, some of the other areas of the Southern Rhone. I don't believe it's going to be in my top. But some of the wines from Chateau de Cosme are amazing. I've had two. I think last year's version better than this year's, but it is going to be interesting as I gander. Maybe I should even just go by the bottles I've kept are typically, I had a good experience with a wine. Like that Malbec out of Argentina, the Argentino, is phenomenal. One of the best wines I've ever had, $100. But I'm not putting Malbec on the list. I'm just not going to. Because I'd have to be drinking that bottle from that producer, and I think that's unfair. Actually, I'm going to put that as a rule on when I do this, that wouldn't be fair. On top of Chardonnay, I didn't even talk about Chablis. Really old Chablis is phenomenal. I have had two Sauvignon Blancs that were phenomenal, and they were aged a bit, but they're also made by one of the top producers of Sauvignon Blanc ever, Didier Dagenau, Polyfumé, and still, again, that producer had the best Sauvignon Blanc I ever had in my life. I can't pick a producer to be on these lists, and they're just my own edification, my own lists. All right, time to get dinner going. It's got to be ready now. Pair it with this Sangio. If there's anything else interesting to say, maybe I'll make a little quick snippet of, hey, there is good wine in other places in the country, in the United States. Finger Lakes, phenomenal. Some in New Jersey, Cape May County. There's something called the Co-op. Gosh, is that the name of it? There's like 6 wineries in New Jersey that have kind of combined and called themselves a co-op. Turtle's not one of them, but they're Heritages and Working Dog, and I'm gonna screw up not getting them all now, and I'm not gonna do it all right now, but they are trying to make a higher standard of dry wine, not just your wine slushy, sweet wine, blueberry wine, pancake syrup wine. It's sure you want to drink that, go for it. Go for it. I like a sweet wine too. Don't give anybody advice. If someone asks me for a recommendation, I will ask them what they like. And if they like a sweet wine, I can recommend some. And then ask them their price point. If say $10, there's a I think it's German Dornfelder red wine. It's sweet, and I've recommended it. I couldn't drink it. It tastes like cough syrup. To others, they loved it. They thought it was fantastic. To each their own, right? To each their own. That'll be the theme of tonight. Drink what you love, enjoy it, and have a good night.